Ethel Kennedy, matriarch of one of America's most famous political families, has died.
Ethel Kennedy.
Ethel Kennedy.
Ethel Kennedy.
Ethel Kennedy.
Ethel Kennedy, the famous widow of Robert F. Kennedy, has passed away at 96, probably because even she couldn't outlast all the other Kennedys. This woman lived through so many sad events that you might think she was cursed. With a family history of heartbreak and the challenge of raising 11 kids, she showed a level of strength that could rival a superhero. If there were awards for surviving life's ups and downs, she'd have a whole shelf full of trophies. If only they handed those out. But don't let her sweet and caring image fool you. Ethel was like the manager of a wild circus, juggling her famous family while keeping everything from falling apart. Picture Thanksgiving dinners at her house, where you had to settle family debates while dodging mashed potatoes flying across the table. Ethel managed it all with grace, balancing public appearances, family chaos, and more drama than a soap opera. She truly deserved a medal for keeping her sanity in a house full of future politicians. Looking back at her life, you can almost see Ethel now, probably shaking her head and asking when she gets her own street named after her. After all, she spent decades helping others and fighting for good causes, so why not a little recognition? It's only fair, right? If anything, she should have been given a Mom of the Year award for handling that many kids without losing her mind. She certainly earned a trophy just for making it through family gatherings. While many thought of her as just the wife and mother in a famous family, Ethel was much more. She didn't let all the sadness of loss define her. Instead, she pushed forward, working hard for the causes she believed in and keeping her faith strong. It's like every tragedy she faced only made her more determined to help others and keep the Kennedy spirit alive. Now, at 96, Ethel's passing feels like the end of an era, but knowing her, she's probably up in the sky, organizing things and making sure even heaven runs smoothly. Finally, she can take a break from all the chaos, sit back, and enjoy some peace and quiet after a lifetime of challenges. It's said that behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes. Ethel Kennedy might have understood that well, given her life beside Robert F. Kennedy. Born on April 11, 1928, into a rich family in Chicago, she became famous not only because of her marriage to Robert, but also because of her dedication to her family and causes she cared about. Despite facing many challenges, Ethel stayed strong and focused on the things that matter to her. Ethel came from the Skakel family, which made its money in coal. This gave her a comfortable life growing up, but she also felt a sense of duty to help others. Her Catholic faith played a big part in her life, and it guided her as she built her own family. Her strong values came from her upbringing, which helped her deal with the many tough times she faced later on. When she married Robert F. Kennedy in 1950, Ethel became a part of one of the most well-known political families in the country. Robert was the younger brother of John F. Kennedy, who would later become president. The Kennedys were known for their work in public service, and Ethel was quickly pulled into this life through her marriage. She supported Robert's career from the start, first as a lawyer, and then as he entered politics. When Robert became U.S. Attorney General and later a senator for New York, Ethel stood by him, working on the same causes that they both believed in. Family was always the most important thing to Ethel. She and Robert had 11 children together, showing just how much she cared about being a mother. Raising such a big family while living in the public eye wasn't easy, but Ethel's strong beliefs helped her through it. She was known for being strict but loving, passing on her deep faith to her children. Sadly, her life was often marked by loss. The assassination of her brother-in-law, President John F. Kennedy, in 1963 hit her family hard. While Robert struggled with the grief of losing his brother, Ethel was the one who held the family together, giving him the strength to keep going. After John's death, Robert's political career took a new turn. He was elected as a senator for New York and later ran for president in 1968. Ethel was a big part of his campaign, not just his wife, but as someone actively involved. She would show up at events, meeting with voters, and making sure Robert's message got through. Her ability to connect with people made her an important part of his campaign. She added a personal touch to everything they did. The 1968 campaign ended with a terrible loss. On June 5, 1968, Robert F. Kennedy was shot while campaigning in Los Angeles. Ethel, pregnant with their 11th child, found herself once again stuck in the misery of grief. His death tore a massive hole in her life and the lives of their children. Now widowed at 40, she had the fun task of raising 11 kids on her own. But because life's never easy, she kept going, just like she did after John F. Kennedy's death, and somehow channeled her sadness into doing something useful. After Robert was gone, Ethel got busy making sure people wouldn't forget him. She started the Robert F. Kennedy Memorial, which later became a human rights organization under his name. This group worked to keep Robert's projects alive, promoting fairness, peace, and justice. Ethel threw herself into the cause, focusing her energy on these issues and supporting people trying to make things better in different places. Yup, while others might take a break, she decided her grief would double as her to-do list. Ethel mostly stayed out of the public spotlight, but was still the backbone of the family's work in politics and charity. Her kids followed in her husband's footsteps because what else do Kennedys do? Robert Jr. fought for the environment, Kathleen served as Maryland's lieutenant governor, and Joseph II became a congressman. Of course, life being what it is, the family faced more heartbreak. Ethel had to endure the loss of several children and relatives along the way. Apparently, being a Kennedy means tragedy is on the house. Even with all the loss, Ethel stayed as solid as a rock, because what else can you do? Her Catholic faith helped keep her grounded through the chaos. She went to Mass regularly and found strength in her beliefs, which guided her efforts to make things a little fairer for others. It's almost like grief and public service became her personal hobbies, with a little bit of prayer on the side. Sure, it might look like Ethel was always standing behind the men in her life, husband, brother-in-law, and sons, but she was no background character. She threw herself into work and stayed active even after Robert's death. Instead of walking away, she doubled down and stuck to what mattered to her. Because why not? If life is going to throw loss after loss at you, you might as well punch back. As Ethel grew older, she became the glue holding the Kennedy family together, keeping memories of their famous past alive. She lived through some pretty chaotic times in American history, like the Civil Rights Movement, the Vietnam War, and the assassinations of important leaders. Even with public pressure and personal heartbreak, Ethel stayed composed and powered through it all. In her later years, Ethel backed away from the public life, spending more time with her kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. Although quieter, she still had a strong influence on the family. She passed down lessons about fairness, stayed close to her faith, and left a lasting impression on those around her. When Ethel Kennedy died at 96, it felt like closing a chapter from a time when the Kennedys were everywhere in American politics. But her impact didn't end there. It carried on through her children's work, the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Group, and the example she set with her kindness and strength. Honestly, Ethel wasn't just another Kennedy wife. She didn't sit quietly in the corner. She stood up for what mattered to her and stayed involved, even when things went off the rails. She believed in love and making life better for others, and while she's no longer with us, the work she did will keep hanging around like a guest who won't leave the party.